Hello everyone and welcome to Lewis News. In today's video we're going to be talking more Sonyverse stuff and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland potentially joining the Sonyverse. We've got very interesting rumors and leaks to cover in today's video, so make sure you stick around. And also, before we do get into that, I also want to mention, make sure you subscribe, because this year we're covering everything to do with Spider-Man on the channel, from the games, movies, and the shows, and you want to stay in the loop with your favorite superhero, then make sure you are subscribed. But with that being said, let's get straight into this. So this comes from Jeff Schneider, who, by the way, we have covered before on the channel, but we haven't covered him as much as the likes of Daniel RPK, but we have covered Jeff Schneider before on the channel. He is relatively reliable. I'd say he's more reliable than most people. However, he has come out and stated that apparently Andrew Garfield was meant to be the Spider-Man of the Madam Web universe, and then he goes on to also say then the idea changed to it being Tom Holland, and then he goes on to say that everything referencing and anything that remotely had anything to do with Spider-Man in the film had to be reshot and redone as to not include anything to do with Spider-Man. So I think that is very, very interesting and very telling about Madam Web. Now, if you guys did see the video that I posted yesterday, you will know we talked about the post-credit scene. Obviously, Daniel RPK coming out and saying that a rumor at the moment is that the film won't have a post-credit scene. And I was saying, well, it could potentially have a post-credit scene because we know films do like to go back and do reshoots. And I gave the example of the Avengers movie that we're still doing reshoots and we're still doing reshuffling of the film way up and past the premiere of the film up until it actually came out in theaters. So it isn't out the realms of possibility that, given the fact that Andrew Garfield was meant to be the Spider-Man of the Sonyverse, and then they decided to go with Tom Holland, and now they're reshooting everything to take all the references to Spider-Man out, that potentially they could go back and do a post-credit scene at some point before the film's release. But let's talk about Andrew Garfield for a second. This is really, really interesting because, as we do know, a couple of months ago, well, not even a couple of months ago now, like a year ago, a year to 6 months ago now, I want to say, Andrew Garfield obviously was rumored to have a contract in place with Sony Pictures to play Spider-Man in the Sonyverse, but then apparently the contract ended up falling through because they could not agree terms, and we speculated, especially on this channel, that it probably was because Andrew Garfield, a very, very high-end, highbrow actor in Hollywood, probably doesn't want his character to be butchered in the way that it was during the run of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. We know that studio mandates and everything really ruined that franchise, and Andrew Garfield was put off franchise movies as a whole. And he probably saw the potential of the character to get more screen time, to get more development. And Andrew Garfield, you know, he's a character actor. He loves to act for the character, he loves to act for the story. He won't agree to anything that he doesn't feel like has potential, and we speculated that is the reason why the contract ended up falling through. Then remember, we also had rumors not too long ago that Tom Holland apparently was going to be joining up with the Sonyverse, and there's this whole MCU merger going on at the moment as well that is still leaking all sorts of rumors and information, and that is still ongoing. But it seems like because Sony hasn't figured out anything and what they want to do with Spider-Man in the Sonyverse, it seems like they've had to go back and reshoot everything in Madam Web, and this all lines up with other rumors and leaks that we have had over the past couple of years as well. So it's not like this is random. This is one of those rumors, this is one of those leaks that, yes, you've got to still take it with a grain of salt, as we always do say, but I think it's very, very believable because this has been going on for a while. This back and forth with Andrew Garfield, now with Tom Holland, all this merger with the MCU and all this stuff. Sony haven't figured out what they want, and they haven't figured out what they're going to do with their universe. They haven't figured out what they're going to do with the MCU, their partnership with Disney. So it could be that, you know, they've had to take all the references to Spider-Man out of Madam Web, and subsequently they'll probably have to take them out of Kraven and Venom 3 as well, because they haven't figured out what they want to do with Spider-Man. They haven't figured out which Spider-Man they want in their universe and what direction that these movies are going to be going in. And that's more worrying than anything, because this universe needs a direction. It's got films upon films about villains and Spider-Man spin-off characters, but doesn't have Spider-Man himself, which doesn't make any sense because Spider-Man would be the focal point of all of these characters coming together, crossing over, but they've got to make it make sense. So whether they go with Miles Morales, whether they go with Tom Holland, whether they somehow work something out with Andrew Garfield, or maybe they do a brand new actor, maybe a brand new version of Peter Parker, who knows at this point in time. This universe needs a Spider-Man, maybe even needs a Spider-Woman. Who knows? It needs a focal point. And I think this is very telling of Sony. It's very telling of the situation they're in with the film. And it doesn't give me hope that this film will be any good. But either way, we'll just have to hold out hopes, because I am excited for Madam Web. It is something a little bit different. It's something we haven't ever seen before. But with all these rumours about all the Spider-Man stuff coming out and all the leaks about everything being kind of up in the air with what they want to do with their universe, doesn't give me much hope. But either way, I want to know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think about this rumour? Do you believe it? Do you think it's true that they've gone back, they've sliced all of the references for Spider-Man out of the film? I want to know what all of you think. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.